To everyone. Okay, hey, good morning, guys. This is Simon with ToughTrader.com and Trade and Perform Coaching, doing a market preview for August 30th. Getting to the end of the month. So we always get weird moves right at the end of the month, right? Before we get started, just really quickly, and it figures I don't have it open, but it'll take me just a second to get that done. There we go. That's not what I wanted. Here, this is what I wanted. Okay. Past performance is not indicative of future results. This is for educational purposes only. I'm basically sharing my trade plan with you in hopes that it makes you a better trader. But very, very importantly, right, you have to make sure you are following your trade plan. I do take losses, right? Does happen as within any trader, right? And trading derivatives comes with substantial risk. So you can lose all your money if you don't have a trade plan. Like I said, find a niche, exercise it, repeat it. Okay, we're done with that. So let's get rid of this and get started on the day. So first of all, for members, I'm uploading the entire trading day from yesterday. I should have uploaded so that you can go back and see how that day developed on a trend, on what was a started off as balance consolidation and then into trend day up, so that you can go back and work through that process. Looking really quick, I'm going to do this a little bit backwards so that we know where our key areas are. Let's erase all lines. Okay, so first of all, delta is positive, but we're not like yesterday, right? So starting off the day, let's go look where our key areas are to work against from the algo, so you can write these down. So pre-market, our biggest delta came, let's see, this is Asia right here. That's Asia. So, and we've obviously rolled nicely off that 29.16. Let's see what we got pre-market. We have this, let's see, 11.33. I got to get the algo that just highlights it. 11.77. Okay, this is your pre-market resistance right there. That's your over-under, okay? If we get above that, so you can see we're trading below. So why is that important? If I'm aggressive, I am shorting into that 29.10, and I'm probably keeping my stop right at probably right at 29.12.50, right? It would be really tight. I don't want it to get all the way to 29.12 even. I want it to tag in underneath here and roll down. What's the problem with that? Buyers are still in overall control, okay? So let's back this through, since this is our, and for guys that are visiting us on YouTube, I'll go through the bigger picture in just a second, although I laid it out in last night's video. So up on top, right, what did we have yesterday? We had, where's our 4K guys? I know they're in here somewhere. Let's do this chart. Give it just a second. It's got to be calculated. There we go. So up on top, we have 30.96. We have, there we go. That is your, this is your over-under guys right here. See that 40.62 on top? And then we had this guy over here, this 50.28, 52.08. So the first thing you'll notice is, as buying has got robust, we've gotten a lot larger deltas, excuse me, right? So there's two areas to be interested in. This 40.62. Right, that's not what I wanted. This is, okay, that 40.62, and you can see we haven't backside tested that just yet. They fell just shy, right? They fell just shy of backside testing that. Now we're underneath the 11.77. So we're gonna unwrap this in just a second, okay? And then off to the left, we have this 52.08. Those are the two areas. So look, to get clues, we can see how the market treated this. So this already got backside tested. You can see when we backside tested this in late Asia, we got a buy response right out at the top of the big delta, back up to the 29.13, 40.62 delta on the backside test, right? So what would I target if I were looking here? Well, I'm going to first watch the first couple of minutes of opening rotation. If I'm mega aggressive, I'd rather have this 13.15 area than I would this 10.11, because you're going to need immediate rejection, right? And clearly overnight, the market's been responding to this 40.62, and we're responding, if you look, to the 5208. It makes, what that means is there's not a clear answer pre-market. It's one of those two, and we'll just have to watch how it unfolds off the open, but it's either this area or this area that should get a rejection. Down below, let's go see what's untested, which is really what I'm interested in, right? So if I look from yesterday, so this is so far my swing low. This was my retest. This was my consolidation area. So let's erase this. Okay, and let's go to yesterday. Okay, here's your biggest delta that's been untested on the upside break. You should get a response first time in there. Okay, and then underneath that, what has gone untested? Almost nothing. And then behind there, so important, if we get down here, this, there was a huge delta on the close that did not get, and then this got tested again. So these are just reference points. They're not zones, right? We're looking for responses out of that area. You can see we responded pre-market, but we haven't tested this during the RTH, okay? So those are our areas that we're looking at to get a response back up. And if you look at each of those, areas, how the market has treated that, we didn't quite make it down to this. So this is interesting because it would just break Globex low, right, and give us a response back up. And then if you look, this would get us down from yesterday's close, which was roughly so yesterday's close was roughly 29.15. So this gets us 10 down from yesterday's close. I would expect a response there, right? And then finally, from 29.15 to 29.89, actually gets us down 15 to 16 points. You got to remember, the market's so strong. It's just broken out. Where normally we would look for 20 points in the early going of a breakout, you don't get the huge rotations to the downside that you would like to get long. Why? Everyone wants to get long, right? So we're gonna use that as an overlay to whatever sets up intraday as we get started. Okay, so for guys in the room, that's what we're using as our, these are the 4 areas that we're using as our decision-making profile. So now let's go look at the bigger picture and go through our checklist so we know exactly what it is that we're looking for in the background, so we have an understanding, right? An understanding of how the small, tiny picture is going to play out against the big, larger picture, right? So number one, everyone should be relaxed. Trading's been really good, right? The goal is to get the best setup. Who cares what the market does overall? Okay, so number one, value area low, value area high. My first question is, after the first hour, are we trading above or below value area low, value area high? My guess is this TPO is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This TPO is more than 8 wide. We are highly likely to come in for a test of 29.13 to 29.15. To begin with, there is a zone there as posted to the charts last night. Okay, so it's likely at some point that this is where we're going to come up and test, right? If we look at that 13.15, that would bring us to our biggest delta, right, from yesterday. So that adds less weight to this area and more weight to this area to get a rejection. Okay, going back to the chart. Okay, next, value area low, consolidate underneath value area low. What would I expect? That opens the door to the downside push. So we know that's one possible rule. What's the challenge with getting the downside push? We're one-timing to the upside, right? When we're one-timing to the upside, it's very, very difficult to guess, right, which day is going to actually be the day that rolls down. And usually what happens is even if we get back to prior day's low, right, on the first time we stop one-timing, once we break that, we usually get a response and a push back in. The logical place for a response down here, do both the stretch there's really not an anomaly here, but this value area low down here at 28.9675, which served as support both on, if you look here, both on this 2 days ago, right? And it served as resistance going back to the 27th, right? This area should get a response the first time in. Remember, buyers won here. They're going to want to defend the first time through. And it's really what you're going to have to get is an impulse move underneath to make it work to the downside. So what's likely? We break the low, we test into support areas, and we push back up. And the logical target back up is 29.09 from 28.97 if we get there, right? Okay, on the anomalies, this is usually a weak anomaly, right? Keep that in mind. It's good for a scalp, but usually even if we rotate there, we tend to either come down and test this one. We either hold this one or we hold that one, right? And remember here, right, if you come underneath, even if you break the low, come into the support area, and then you get back above this guy, that's usually what the pattern will end up looking like, right? Because this will complete the anomaly above and below. Again, guys in the room know exactly what I'm talking about. That's a wide anomaly. I'd love to see a break of the low, trap back in, push back, and then push back into 29.09. I'm bullish. In case no one's figured it out, I'm looking for dips to get long, just like every other money manager on the face of the earth. We're going into a 3-day weekend. The market's at all-time highs. Betting on a big roll down going into a holiday weekend is usually a losing formula. It does happen, but it doesn't happen a lot. John, welcome back, brother. Good to see you, my friend from South Africa. Is on vacation. Good to have you. Okay, so that's the layout for the day. I'm going to look at 29.09. I'm going to look at 29.17. I know even if I get rejection out of this area, getting back underneath 29.09 is going to be key to my day, right? And then I'm going to keep an eye on NQ, which, by the way, really hasn't backed off very much. Let's do the work on NQ real quick and go through what the key areas have to happen to break down. So I'm going to switch screens really quick. And NQ is important because remember, NQ has been the weak link the last couple of weeks, and now it's a strong link. So let's go through here. Race all lines. Race all lines. And first, let's look pre-market. So this is a very large time frame chart. And so it helps me figure out where the bigger support resistance areas are. So the first thing that jumps out to me is this 1737 over here to the left, right? If I get back there, I expect in general, right, it's a wide bar. That whole bar, just to give you an idea, goes from 2612 all the way down to 75.90, 7612 to 75.99, and you usually have to give it a drop of wiggle space underneath. Still, I expect a response out of there. It's the biggest push out of all these bars to the upside. I expect a response in that area. There's also structure there to the left, as you can see, and I would expect a response in this area. The further back I could get, the more comfortable I'd be, but I'll probably start working this trade in at 76.12 for a push back to where? Back up into the bottom of this structure over here. And in order to make us go down, right, you can see since yesterday afternoon, you got to get below 76.4650 to test it. If we don't trade below 76.4650, why even worry about it? Because we couldn't get underneath it since 10 a.m. yesterday, right? So that's a very big time frame right there. But we couldn't get underneath 76.46. It's the key to opening up, and then backside test into that, open us up for a test of 76.12, 75.99. On a shorter term picture, right, overnight, we have there you go. Missed them. Look at that. Close underneath, backside test rejection. I would expect rejection out of 76.56 to 76.64 first time in, and I'm probably looking to fade that right out of the gate if they'll push me in there. I'm willing to take that trade. Ideally, I'm going to put a stop a few points behind there. Again, I'm not running NQ in the room right now. I'm experimenting with my own money, but this is what I'm looking for. overnight. And then my downside target becomes this structure over here to the left. And again, the biggest delta, there's two. So this is the first one, right? Again, I have to watch the PA 7620, but really this 1130, that's what the kingmaker is. That 7600 is that 1130. So maybe here it's the top of this structure here to the left, right? Notice as soon as we closed above that, that's where the breakout occurred, right there, right? So I'm probably more interested, instead of the top of that 7620, 7612 to 7600 for a response back up. And again, we'll let the leaves unfold themselves and present themselves as we're trading, right? So the trade plan for today, unless you're mega aggressive, you're looking for dips to get long. If you are very aggressive and you're comfortable with taking stops, which I am, right? You are looking for shorts into key locations, and that key location this morning is really 29.13, 29.15. And then if we consolidate underneath 29.08 for 45 minutes to an hour, look for a push to retest these lower levels. And I think the highest odds location is a break of yesterday's low, right? Where we're going to look for reversal patterns for a push back in, and most likely a balanced day close in this lower end of this area as we come back and repair the chart from yesterday. Okay, so this is the area where it'll probably be wide swings that's not very well developed, and we'll probably run into absorption down here in this 2900 to 2896 area for pushes back up. Okay, so that's the trade plan for today. Once again, this mouse is going to meet its death someday soon. There we go. That's my trade plan for today, guys. Anyone have any questions? And then we'll just unfold it step by step. I'm actually going to leave the YouTube room open for the first couple of minutes as we go through the day. And then what I'm going to do is split this screen over so I can just reference this quickly. There's the open. Let's see what they do. We open up underneath value area low and immediately back in. That part, right, is not a shock. And again, 76.56 to 76.64 area is resistance up above. Okay. And I would expect him to come in and give that a test somewhere in there, right? I don't think they let it fall away straight away, but we'll see. Let's adjust this. And obviously, the natural thing would be to find responsive buyers out of the gate, right? That's what people want to do, is be responsive buyers right out of the gate. Delta's positive 42.12. And let's see what they're able to accomplish, if anything. And we pushed right to the back of that on NQ and right into that 29.10. See how it garnered a responsive sell almost immediately? All right. And that's normal, not abnormal, normal. If you're aggressive, that's the general area. If you're less aggressive, this 13.15 is the more natural target. But you actually have to get them to be responsive sellers early. And that's hard when you're in a straight up market, right? See how if you watch the dome, you'll see it's getting absorbed each time they push down. It's because people want to think, oh, we're gonna have another trend day up push, right? So they want to jump in on that move as quickly as possible. And remember how much stronger NQ has been over ES, right? So the initial rejection out of the area we were looking for is taking place, right? They pushed in, they're pushing out now. Again, it's the first 5 minutes of the market, right? So same thing on NQ, we pushed right into where we thought we would push up into, which was that 57 to 63 area, more or less. And we rejected out of that as low as 54 so far. So again, the location really matters to pinpoint that area, especially if you're going to be on the short side of this thing. And then what are we looking for? The backside test down at 76.20 and then 76.05 on ES. We're looking down here, right? 29.06, 29.05, 20, and then 28.99 to 28.97, right? And then we're looking, are we driving higher or lower? As of now, we are inside value area. So remember, if we don't get underneath value area low, expect to test back to 29.13, 29.15. It's early still, right? Our best trades come after the first hour. Let it develop would be my suggestion to you. Let me see something here. Let's see. Good deal. And if you want to see that on NQ, guys, let me grab the screen. It's from the other computer. There's the push in to our resistance area. There's the rejection out. And where should it be targeting? Should be targeting this 7620 followed by 7605 to 7600. All right, that'd be the downside target. I don't expect it to be immediately. And now the biggest delta now from this open is now this 797. We're really still working against this 1302 bigger picture. And if you look pre-market, we now have the biggest delta to the downside from the overnight, this 578 right here. And so really shorts don't want to see it back above this 578. If not, it brings up another test of this upper area. They'd really like to see that hold underneath 7650 now. So either way, I'd have already covered it if I'd shorted it. I'd already covered that trade because NQ's just been so strong. I'll wait for the breakdown to start really pressing shorts in that area. Again, my guess is they're going to push up to the white zone, right? And that's where we start looking for opportunities. Or they consolidate underneath value area low. Either way, but again, I want to stress to the guys who are new to the room, or if you're listening on YouTube and you like to trade, it opens hard to trade, right? Because it's so quick. And even if you get the trade right, you have to deal with these pretty vicious whips back and forth, right? And we're in the middle of the overnight chop, as you can see over here, right? So we're going to just let this thing open up. There's a 1311. That's not the biggest number down in this area. This guy is right here. So you either got to get underneath this 1911 and close. Notice we haven't had a red bar close underneath yet. And then this guy, this resistance now shifts here from this session, right? So we're starting to get a lot of big deltas without it stretching out very much. That'll get fixed. And once we get stretched out, these will be easier numbers to work off of, right? And then notice they've just been whipping consistently since 2 in the morning into this 2910, 2911 area. I would not expect buyers just to disappear. I would expect that they're going to try to find a way to push up again because, well, sellers die hard, right? They usually need it just to get pounded. So my guess is back up at some point this morning. If they don't give it to me here, I'm looking for the roll down and then get structured from areas below for the push back up. But so far, this first zone worked perfectly. And my guess is this is going to work pretty nicely too when we get into this area. And what I'm hunting for specifically in here is, well, it's this guy right here, right? But then it's weird. They never got up to this guy. We'll just watch how the PA unfolds. That's really hard when we have these two guys right on top of each other. And then the other thing that made this a little messed up is someone else who has the same algo has the delta. This number's bigger than this number here. So let's just see how they unfold it in the first half hour. Anyone have any other views? Any guys on the Slack channel have a different view? We're obviously due for a pullback. Everyone and their brother knows that, right? So the question is, when does it come and what does it look like? And my hope is that it comes after 10 a.m., right? I'd rather have them hold it up and suck in some more buy power and give us a fresh readout on the deltas and to let us see. Now, the other thing to keep in mind for today, if Delta gets to negative 20K, right, watch for an initial expansion to the downside initially, and then we can start trading against those and back up, right? Also, the other thing to note is even though we're down, we have not broken Here's delta, cumulative delta low from the overnight session. And notice we're holding delta above 0. That's the overnight low right now. Unless we get below that, right, it's going to be hard to get a big extension to the downside on the cumulative if cumulative delta doesn't get weaker. And like I said, odds are someone's going to try and push up into that 13, 15. That TPO point of control was over eight 30-minute periods wide. It tends to act as a magnet. And what I'm hoping is we can press down into this 2906 to use that as a 2914 target up. So if we can get this 2906 and get set up here, right, we can then go 2906, look for a reversal pattern. First target 2910, 2912, second target 13 to 15, right? Where we would then look to, if you're willing to trade on the short side and it's in your trade plan, you'd then look to flip it at that point. But you can just see, even with the rejection out of those key areas, right? Look at the amount of up versus down. So a good example of that is this morning, high 76.61, low is 76.42 on NQ. Okay, so yeah, that's a 20-point range, and that's great, right? Except that we've been going up 80 to 100 points almost every day, right? So 20 points back and 80 points up that's not a great short formula, right? You really want to look for the longs off of that. And what you'll see here, which is interesting, is on NQ, and it applies to ES, same concept and ideas apply. See how that 76, 46, 50 becomes really critical? See how we've just been bouncing off of it all night? So what do I want to see there if I want to short? I know that's got to break because it gets me below the structure that we've held since 9 o'clock yesterday morning, right? I want an impulse move below. Then on a backside test back into that area, I can attempt shorts between that and VWAP, right? For a push down to where? Down to the 76.15, 76.12 area where there's structure over here to the left, right? That's what I'm shooting for, right? And that was the 853, 838 breakout, return to the scene of the crime for a response back up. Or if I'm patient for the long, I'm just looking for down towards 76.12, one of the two. Back to the 56 to 22 resistance area. Again, I think the target here is 29.13 to 29.15 is the upside target on ES. And if we're going to find responsive sellers, I think that's where we find responsive sellers. We're now above VWAP on the 24 hours, and we've just been chopping around VWAP on NQ. So, and we're not even at 9 o'clock yet, so there's still plenty of time to let things set up. And it would probably be good if I could see the domes. NQ's down 9, ES is down 3. I'd call that pretty inconsequential. And you know, 46 is now your big number. They've tested it. They tested it in Globex session. We've now tested it and tried below in US session. So 76, 46, 50, guys, write that in your notes. Like, even if you're just trading ES, glance over and go, hey, have we broken 76, 46 decisively, right? We're probably getting a push lower into key areas if we do, right? No econ at the top of the hour. Pretty quiet. Argues for balance, actually, for the day. Remember, balance means we go into this slow summertime grind, right? Who does that benefit? Longs or shorts? Longs every single time, right? So people will try to push down, they'll trap themselves, and then they'll get squeezed out. Deltas are also relatively small for opening the day. This is our biggest delta of the day session. Actually, I guess the 1591 is. Let's see, let's push this out a little bit here. I stand corrected. Here, let's fix this. So on the day session, 1931. We've now closed over the 1931. Notice they tried to close underneath them. They couldn't get a close underneath with a point of control underneath, right? So technically your backside test of this guy without closing below. So for aggressive longs, if you can tag that 2909.50, right, and it holds, you've now got an entry for 2909.50 for a push up to 2913 to 2915. And you're one tick off of that, by the way. So and that's a 2-point risk, right? You don't want to see it below 2908. Let's see, 2907. You can basically put that stop at 2906.75. You don't want to see a new low against that. And again, the risk is if you're trading it, your risk is, right, you're trading the first half hour and they don't hold it, right? And you just get swept in whatever it is that they're doing in the first half hour, which is fine, no big deal, right? All you have to do is make a decision if you're trading the first half hour or not. There's a lot of cross currents in this area. And Delta's still net positive, right? My guess is we push up. Again, there is no econ at the top of the hour, just algos fire. Well, you just have your top of your algos firing. We're testing that 4650 again. Nine minutes till top of the hour. We're now underneath that 46, so heads up. Again, can't close underneath that 46. It's going to have to go in order to make them push lower. Nice job, Peter. 20% is pretty good. I'll take that. Chop, chop, chop. And we've pretty much traded the edges so far this morning. That's it. Back to that 46 on NQ. Few minutes. Expect algos to fire either direction. And we're just dancing on the edge of that 46. That's all we're doing right now on NQ. So and remember, in bull markets, early morning shakedowns need to be bought, right? And they're much shallower than you think they're going to be early in. Okay, so we don't have a perfect setup yet because of all the chop that we've been dealing with overnight, but the thought process remains the same. And really, 29, you're not exhausted yet, as far as I can tell. So And now you know from looking at NQ, right? Just looking at the dumb, you know, 46 is pretty damn important at this point, right? If we get underneath it, if we impulse move underneath that, 46 becomes resistance up above. They're clearly defending it, right? And we still have not closed underneath 1931, right? This guy right here put in at 804. We still haven't closed underneath. And if we close, and we've closed above one time, right? So remember, the second close above probably pushes us right here. And the flippish difference is true on the other side, right? Below 46 on NQ probably drives ES down to retest those support levels. But my guess is we're going to squeeze out early shorts first. And like I said, I hope that happens after 10 a.m. instead of before 10 a.m. because it'll give us some good, it should give us some good setups up above is what I'm trying to say. And remember, one more piece as I'm going through, guys. Who cares where the market goes? All we care about is getting the setup with the least amount of risk and the most amount of reward. It's all you should care about here, right? So 76.46 on NQ is identified before market. We've now identified the biggest delta from overnight. If we close on top of that, like I said, the backside test of that, okay, so this is pre-market trading, right? The close above might have stopped you, right? You had 2 points of risk if you took 2909.50, 2.5 points. So it might have, I don't know if we hit 07 or 07.50. We hit 07 to the tick, right? So that's part of the risk of trading pre-market. That's part of the risk of trading pre-market or the first half hour is that you're more subject to the whips back and forth that are normal. But it's okay. Just like yesterday morning, we had the same setup. We closed above the biggest delta the first time. They just would have stopped you out, but they never got a negative bar with a point of control underneath. So we have two pieces set up for us now. First of all, a red bar down here with a point of control underneath the little yellow line. Backside test. You now have a potential push down to where? Into this 0605, followed by 99 to 96 area, right? So the market is actually setting up the structure for us. We don't have to figure out what the market's doing. Let the market figure out what it's doing. It'll tell us, right? So now, if we get a close above this guy, unless a new larger delta's formed, right? We know where the deltas were from yesterday and overnight. But intraday, this guy becomes your pivot point, right? Above them, push up. Below them, push down. We simply have not made a, oh, I know what it says. So here's the first close over. That one stopped you. Here's second close over, right? Remember, if you go back to the chart now, what's going on in here? We're inside prior day's value. So you would expect what? Chop inside of prior day's value. That's what we're getting. That's why you have it sideways, right? And then we're overlaying on top of that biggest delta. You either got to get underneath it. So first close underneath, backside test, potential push down to 06, 0650, which wouldn't be a horrible trade, right? That'd be an 08 backside test. It would be a stop of 10, right? And a potential roll down to 06 with trailers, if you can get it, down to 99, right? So now we're overlaying different parts of the picture. Why is that roll to 99 more likely? Because we'll be underneath value, right? We'll be underneath prior day's value, which is why that backside test of 08, stop of 10, failure to get back above value area low, sets us up for a potential test of prior day's low, right? Versus when we're in here, right? What do we expect? Backward, squiggly motion, back and forth inside prior day's value because it's chop and there's no one particular area to defend until we get up to 1514. But everyone, it's value because this is where 70% of the time was spent yesterday. Everyone agreed these are fair prices. Everyone agreed outside of here was an unfair price, right? Inside value, we're just going to chop. There's no strong emotion one way or the other unless new information is introduced to the market that changes that picture, okay? Also, delta is improving, right? Cumulative delta. We have not broken the high from the overnight on delta. And we're just hunting our best setup, right? And if you want to be a master of chop, go for it. I'd rather be a master of a potential larger move, right? And I have one more piece. This is what's difficult when you're inside of value. If you don't know that it's going to chop back and forth, imagine the guy that got the short correct at 29.10, rolled it all the way down to 29.07, thinks, I've got a home run. I'm not covering anything. It's going down to 2900. I'm moving my stop to break even. He just got tagged out. Why? Because he didn't know or didn't think about the fact that inside value, you're going to chop both ways, right? He didn't think to look at NQ and see, hey, is NQ below a key area or not, right? NQ's pushing, as a matter of fact, now to the back of what's been the balance area for the whole morning. Okay, so remember, when in balance, expect him to treat it as balance. This is the bigger picture. This is where we've been since really the close yesterday. We've traded this whole area back and forth, right? What I'd also want to see is that potentially if we could get a break above that and then a trap back in, that would be great for suckering people in. So 76.63, we get it above, we test the high, then we fall back into range, right? I would consider that actually a trap with a potential now to break 76.46. I would trade it lighter in size until I got the break below 46, and I would use pushes back up for my target down to 76.20, right? But see how we just get right to the top and you find responsive sellers? Because this is what this is telling you. It's a balanced market that we've come into, right? And in balance, in a bull market, your best trade is to look for breaks to the low and then setups from down below for pushes back in versus balance in a bull market looking for the short. Even though the short can work pretty nicely, it's easier to look for the push back in from a trading perspective. You see, again, we're rejecting out of the same area over and over, and we clearly have to get, this is still our king maker. So we either need a bigger delta or we need to close underneath this guy, and then we have some direction. And by the way, notice we haven't closed above them either yet with the green bar with the point of control above. Then what are you looking? Backside tap, and then that would set us up for the 13, 15 test. Of course, we've had a chance to build up some shorts now, so then the squeeze might be painful for some people. By the way, the same can be said that's true for the guy who's long here, right? You got to realize until you get above this mess that we've been in, getting a directional move will be difficult, right? We're just, this is, and then the other thing that this tells us, what is it? Who's in charge, guys? Locals, right? That's why we're just handing contracts back to one another. Let us break one way or the other. Ron, do you ever read this morning, buddy? You're dealing with your house. Wow, Ron didn't even make it in this morning. He must be just knee deep in house stuff. I know I am. And we have nothing to do until they resolve this. Unless you like generating commissions. Like I said, I'm all right with letting it. There's no way to miss a trade, right? We can only get the trades that fall into our parameter, right? Delta's pushing. Notice that price isn't pushing on ES. Not yet, at least. Yeah, I agree with you, Daniel. Daniel was saying that there's just so many competing interests here between the shorts and the longs, and the locals being in charge. Great way to get chopped up. And up until the last 2 days, the best trades have been coming later in the day, not earlier. We've been going through these 45-minute, 1 hour consolidations through the beginning of the day and then having breaks. And also, key to remember, and by the way, congratulations, Victor. Yesterday, you nailed it on the cross of the 20K. Victor nailed that, had a monster day yesterday. So, really cool to see. I love it when guys just hit home runs and they do it on their own volition. What that means is that their coaching is paying off and they can see their trades, whether I take it or not, or whether I'm spot on or not. Victor knows what he's looking for in order to put on risk, and he's able to put on size. And so he gets paid, and he's very patient, right? Victor hunts those larger setups, and when he sees them, he puts his money to work, and it's a beautiful thing. And if you saw my notes in Slack, I was pretty hard on myself yesterday afternoon. Granted, with all the stuff I have going on with my house, my family, I'm not as sharp as I normally am, I would say. But that being said, I just missed my long entry on the Delta. Although I was willing to take the backside, that was a situation where I didn't get the backside test of the break, right? And I didn't take the trade on the Delta, and that was only a 2 point risk for about a 13-point return. So that wasn't the brightest move I've ever pulled out of the back of my pocket. We've probably had enough time to build up some shorts for people looking for pullbacks that we should be able to squeeze them out and up to that 15 at this point, you would think. So if we close above here now, right? So this would be the third test. So here's the risk. What you want is if this bar closes, is you want a quick backside tap of this area right here, 2909.50, right? And you do not want it to close below 2908. So I put a 2-point stop on that, and then you're tagging 0950 for a target of really 13 to 15, somewhere up in this neighborhood, right? And what you want to tell yourself before you take that is we're in choppy conditions and inside value, so it's probably not going in a straight. It's probably not going in a straight line. The other thing you got to be aware of is NQ has to break that 76.63. We're right on the border or right on the verge of being able to do that, uh, but expect it to be whippy, just like it was on the bottom side. I don't expect a straight line up. I expect to grind up to that area. If it's a straight line up, so be it. But the reason I'm telling you that, guys, is because expect it to be like, look at the pace, right? It's probably it could take an hour to get there. So, and then we'll have IB high, IB low established, which is essentially going to set us up. Let's see. So IB low is is now below value area low, right? So remember that'll also be a potential trend point, and IB high has to break. So then it'll set us up with an additional trap point, right? If we get above A period into 1514, trap back into A period would set us up for a retest of 0908. We really want to get underneath 0908 at this point. Also watch for the point of control to shift back up. We haven't attracted enough attention to do that just yet. If I take that 09 and I haven't decided yet, if I take that 0950, right, probably doing it on half my normal size because we're just not moving fast enough. Okay, it's on. I don't see it. It says it's on. Oh, there it is. So here's that 63 on NQ. They're going to try and break it above, right? Bulls will want that above for an extension higher. People are clearly playing for the same trend day up as the last 2 days. It's highly unlikely that we get 3 trend days up in a row. Okay. But what you want to see is what would be best is we trade above and then trade back in, failure to close above, right? And as you can see, maybe we squeeze all the shorts out first. So now this bar is almost certainly going to close up here. The 0950 becomes the backside test, right? And this area is still critical until we form a higher delta somewhere off to the right. They could not have made that harder. It did hold support, but they could not have made it harder. So on NQ, we did close above that 2963 on a smaller range bar, 2962.50. Now we want to see if it traps back in or not. Okay, so that bar's formed. So this is your third close above that biggest delta. Backside test of this with a 2-point stop, right? That's a process trade right there. I'm not a big fan because of how much time we spent in between. So if they give it to me, right, I'll probably take this on reduced size at 0950, targeting 1315 up above. Of course, from 0950, I will have my first scale at 1150 up. And I'm also interested in the trap on NQ back below. They're just not laying it out really clearly right now. I'll be right back, guys. By the way, on perspective, the range is still relatively narrow, right? And we're all in the same boat. We all want to pull back to get long, right? That's how it goes at the top of markets. So you know those guys aren't going to go away easily. No one has an incentive to puke their position right now, right? That may change later, but right now no one has an incentive to puke their position. And you're playing the long side on the third day up is hard too, right? So we're having multiple things lap over one another, right? So I want to say one thing because I thought, well, I want to get my coffee. I was thinking, like, so what's the easiest way to do this, right? The easiest way to do this intraday is wait till the biggest delta forms intraday, right, guys? Because we're working off of yesterday's deltas. Wait till the big delta forms and get above or below it. That keeps you out at the chop. Okay, so all this stuff where we're working off of prior day stuff, you just have to be aggressive in forming that. By the way, new high delta intraday for NQ, I just got formed. So again, now I'm looking for it to trade. If it trades below 52, that increases the odds of a profit taking opportunity. But what I was going to say is we've still held. This is still a big delta from yesterday. What's happening is we're chopping and we're inside yesterday's value area. So that's why we're getting everything laying over one another. So what you want to do is go, so just like I can't point to anywhere on the chart and go, this is it, like I could yesterday, right? Because we were in fresh territory, right? I could point pre-market and say we should reject out of here or we should reject over here and that should work. And it did. But now that we're in the gunk of yesterday, what you really want to see is the newest evidence form, right? And what we'd like to find is a big delta form somewhere intraday through here and start keying off of that instead of having to lean on yesterday's stuff, right? So let's do that, right? Let that occur. And then you have then you can start looking for your trade setups through there, and it will occur. We don't have a single day where we don't get a fresh set of big deltas form intraday. Yesterday's stuff is good, but today's stuff is better, right? The fresher the information, the better the information, right? So we're overlaying day time frame, weekly time frame, and then micro time frames, right, to get a great trade location and great entry. So if you want this 0950 is still valid, right? Just write in your notes if you take it, if it gets stopped inside prior day's value and we're chopping, it'll require patience. And I understand that if it fails, right, what's the failure rate? Is 2 points. We should have been doing this long enough now, guys, where you should have a little track record. I know Randy does, of what the win rate and what the loss rate is. So you either know to take it or you know not to take it. Either way, doesn't matter, right? You just have to know what's acceptable for your risk parameters, right? And what's not acceptable. So this is a close above VWAP, third close above the biggest 24-hour delta is pre-market, right? And a backside test of this should provide a counter rotation back up. NQ is holding above that 76.63 to retest yesterday's highs. I'd be very surprised by a third trend day up, right? but I'd also be surprised by a trend day down today as well. See the 0950, you're at 10 right now. If you want that 0950, it's knocking on the door. I'm not calling it as a trade. I am pointing it out as a potential trade location. Now decide whether you're okay with a 2-point stop, because there's no way to know when it's choppy like this. Just looking at it going, yeah, that's going to hold, or no, that's not going to hold. Also, as we've pushed up, delta's dropped off. Notice that cumulative delta's dropped off over here. It's not the same picture as a trend bull day bull market up. I'm inclined to let this settle out and then get a clear direction from there. And the delta we're hunting is bigger than 1931. Bill, do you have anything, buddy? Oh, maybe you do, and I just haven't seen this. Maybe. Might be done. 20% is a nice way to be done for the day, Peter. Yeah, I do think there's people potentially trapped on that, Daniel. So I think they're going to trap on both sides because it's balance, right? And so our job is going to be to find just where's the best entry. So far, this isn't, Delta's not supportive of trend day up, right? We're inside prior day's value area. We're not above value area high. We're not above yesterday's point of control. So what I'd be keeping a sharp eye out on is the shift up in the so this is interesting. My point of control on this chart, it has to be off because no, it's right. Sorry, let me check it against my other one. So I show 0850. Is that what they show? Yeah, 0850. So I'm looking for this point of control to shift up to give me an indication that we can then roll to the downside, right? So we got to find enough buyers and or sellers to absorb up here to get that shift going. We haven't had that happen yet. And we haven't had the backside test of the 0950. We generally like energy at this point. And we need, the point of control has 20,500 contracts. So we need another, at minimum, 8,000 contracts approximately to go off at this 2910 level or higher in order to get the shift up. So we may just sit here until we get it. Even if they want to roll it down, they're going to have to suck in buyers up here. And remember what catches traders off? So I'm just going through my checklist, my own personal checklist, right? What makes day trading the hardest for the most number of participants, right, is the constant change in pace. One day you drive up all day long. Next day you switch to balance. Third day you have an open drive lower, right? And it's human to want to expect repetition, right? But the repetition's there. The problem is you're not looking at the pattern from a big enough angle. You're looking at it day over day instead of over a cycle. If you look at it over the cycle, this is a normal pattern, right? Look at where we're at, right? So first day where we've been underneath value area low. We still haven't traded underneath prior day's low. And now, as opposed to yesterday where we were holding above the point of controls, right, and pushing out, right? Notice above value, above point of controls, right? Above value, above point of controls, below value, below point of controls, right? Look at this day here if you want to model, even though this was a little bit different picture, right? So we opened up and pushed in. They attempted to push out, trapped back in, went to the other end of the range. Then they used this value area low as resistance at the bottom, right? See how it just broke the low and trapped back in? Same thing here. We opened up. See how we opened up, pushed down, came back to the point of control, chop, 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 rolled down. But it was choppy because we were inside the balance, right? So things have changed because we are now underneath the point of control. We're at the bottom area of value and we're undervalued. So that should send an immediate message to you. So that should send an immediate message to you that, hey, this isn't abnormal. Nothing's changed with the market overall. The problem here, right, if there's a problem, is that we're inside value and we're underneath prior day's points of control, and it's just harder to push the market in that environment, right? It can be done, and they can push all the way through value, but it's a slow, choppy grind, right? So let them do the slow, choppy grind thing. That's fine. Trying to see what we have so far here. Okay, 215, 110, 578. Back underneath 76.57 sets us up. And by the way, that's delta divergence there on the top. And ES just rolled down pretty hard again. I did not take this, and I'm not taking it because I don't like the way the chart is setting up. I'm uncertain is what I'm saying, and that's all. So now I'll find out if I'm wrong not to take this. Because I've got exactly where I want the location. I just don't like the choppy nature of the market. Delta's falling off pretty hard. Not gone negative yet, but it's falling off pretty hard. Just be aware. I agree with you, Daniel. And it looks like I was wrong not to take that 950. So shame on me. Almost have the 2 points right there. Oh, that was my mistake right there. I goofed it. Wow. Talk about feeling dumb. That does it for me. Right to 13. My bad, guys. Damn. Right back to where I needed it. Did we survive the backside test? Yep. And push. Wow. Talk about not feeling very happy with yourself. Right to the resistance area and rejection out of there. So very interesting. Again, the demand for NQ is just pretty impressive. Daniel, I don't have that. Oh, 1934. It doesn't matter if they, well, okay. Nope, you're incorrect. From a bigger picture, but then look at your larger delta. I agree. I see what you're saying on NQ. I just think there's so many people trying to short this, and so many people that are out of position on this. And now I'm mad at myself because I had an easy trade to the upside. So it's all right. I didn't follow process. Certainly nothing to do here short wise for me. We are at above prior day's high now. So you got to see it at least underneath 74, right? At least underneath 74 and a quarter on NQ before you get overly aggressive on the short side of the trade. That'd be my suggestion. Quite a difference between NQ and ES too, huh? Backside test of that support area on ES. New biggest delta of the day, by the way, which is helpful right here. Got to get underneath. Got to get underneath or just continuation. Everyone pushed it to a new high and they all go, well, what do we do now on NQ? I agree that we did well not to short too early. There was nothing to short. I had to get below 46. You still have to, right? Yes, back under, trying to get back underneath its biggest delta. So if we're balanced, right, we just broke out of the high on NQ and trapped back in, right? On ES, pushed above the day's range since early morning at least, and we've pushed back in. So now we see, are we truly in balance? We got to close underneath the biggest delta if we are, which we did, by the way. The point of control didn't close underneath, right? So this bar is now resistance. If you want to trade for a roll to the downside, you're shorting 29.11, right? Stop 29.13, high of the day, right? That's what you're betting on. Again, short's the hard way here, guys. Period, end of sentence. No question about it in my mind. Damn, I can't believe I didn't get that long. It's so annoying. I've had one down bar since 9:10 a.m. on my small range bars on NQ. Again, the stop against 13, if you're looking short, that is your biggest delta, right? We didn't get a point of control underneath this bar. It's the only issue with that. Okay. Now, I'm not shorting it. So I'm a little agitated myself to begin with. So I did not do that very well. And it cost me 2 points so far plus. Mm-hmm. We still haven't shifted the point of control. We have a long way to go if we're going to do that at this point. No sellers. It's frustrating. That's all I'll say about that. I'm not short, but I sure did screw up that long. How it goes in the next couple of minutes. Yeah, delta divergence right there at the top on NQ. And if we print this point of control underneath that 1934 bar, you're probably in business. We're backside testing prior day's high here. So it'll usually be a dogfight there as they try to hold that, right? So notice the point of control still hasn't closed underneath, right? Of this bar. Also notice you haven't been stopped on the backside test of that short. Okay, so I'm a little off process today, guys. I got to fix that, but still plenty of time. So now what would you expect? A backside test of that 74, maybe a little bit older over as they try to hold it up for London, right? There's the algos. Now they're see if they're going to try and get for a push into London. Obviously, would be what they'd want to do. Here comes that push. Daniel, you're watching for a short above prior day's high is a horrible place to watch for a short without an extension. Just FYI. You either want it below and clearly break below, or way, way, way above with a target back down. Okay, otherwise you're just getting head faked by noise. Below yesterday's high, I'll consider it. Daniel, up here, no way in hell do you get me to short. I just seen it keep going for days on end. So show me an impulse move. Show me a seller, right? Show me someone who's actually like, oh, wow, look, we rotated down. It's been 3 days in a row, right? So I'm telling you that because it's dangerous, not because I don't want you to short up here or anything else, right? But think of all the people who thought, oh, I've got the short here. And people are susceptible. When you show those ideas, remember, I'm going to throw that out with the room. So I'll attack that when I see that. There's nothing here that says short. Delta's plus 3,000. ES is flat on the day. Well, almost negative 350. NQ still positive on the day. Now, give me an impulse move. Get me a rotation down. Show me that people are willing to sell. And sure, sign me up for that. I'm good there, right? I agree with the formation, but the formation is come now. We're below 74, right? So now give me a push back up. I'll take that, right? If I was a super aggressive on the short side, right? But I've seen these patterns form before where you trap people or people get too encouraged on the short side. And then they're like, well, how did I lose all that money, right? So if that's a swing location for you, that's cool. I personally would actually like to see someone come in and go, yeah, I'm willing to sell that, right? And I just haven't seen that yet. I think they should. I think there should be profit taking. Markets confounded me before, lots of times. Like show me a 20-point rotation down, maybe on NQ. So if we got to 76.60, I'd be like, oh, Daniel's right. There we go. Sure. Good job. I'm all right with that. Just realize when you're throwing it out to me, it makes it really hard on my trading, right? So now a backside test into that 70, 74 area, that I would agree with. Of course, watch it go straight down now that I made that whole speech. And ES is now closed, by the way, with a point of control underneath the biggest delta, which was right here. What you would have hoped for was a backside test. Of course, it's so choppy, they're just, yeah. They're not backside testing it. So if we can now get a test back to that 29.11, I agree with that now. Delta's gone negative, by the way. Damn, they made this hard as could be. I agree with you. The concept that NQ should go down just hasn't. There should be some profit taken in there, but should be's don't count for much in trading. I'd agree. That means they can't come back to test them, but obviously. We'll see where we are in a couple minutes. I don't have a clean setup. Hey guys, I didn't realize I left YouTube open so long, so I apologize. I'll have another preview and I'll leave the first hour open tomorrow. We're now at 10 o'clock, so I left it for the first 2 hours. I'm gonna end it. Trade well, trade smart, know what your setup is, and then work on executing your setup. 2 different stages, right? And trade well, protect your flanks. Talk to you later, guys.